Hey guys, this is the Powerhead here. We had a few issues with this podcast, so this podcast comes very, very late. We recorded this in mid-October, and only now are we actually publishing it. The reason is there are severe audio issues with part one of this podcast. Spellbound tried to fix these, but unfortunately we had to scrape it, all of it. It was just unbearable to hear. It was an issue with his mic that fortunately is not as severe as part 2 since we recorded that in a different day. So unfortunately all you're about to hear now is just part 2. We had a really good part 1, but unfortunately it was absolutely ruined by these audio issues. But hey, what can you do? That's about it. As far as the recommendations at the end of the podcast, some of them may be out of date, like the Gwent event has already ended. There is, however, a new Gwent event that you can go check out. And as far as the other recommendations, I also suggest you check them out. They're really, really interesting and really good. So yeah, enjoy the podcast, guys, and see you next time. That probably won't be very soon since Spellbound is trying to get a new mic, so we don't have these issues anymore. But yeah, enjoy the podcast. I'll see you guys later.
Okay. Well, welcome back from this very short break.
Yes,
short.
The shortest of all breaks.
Yes, it was incredibly short. I didn't even notice. I mean, it was seconds for me. I don't know about you guys. I was just sitting here, blinked, and then we're recording again. It was.
I don't know about you guys. I just played the football game with my friends.
Yep.
Yeah,
I just went out, wrote a thesis on hot stop time. Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I think we just. I don't know. I think we broke something, because like I have no memory of time.
Jesus
I
Christ! You
blinked
all need
and
to
here
kill
I am.
yourselves. Anyway,
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I somehow got a job while we had a break, but I think it's fine.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think it took a little
did
bit
you all
longer than what
major
I'm
in like
remembering.
Deadpool and break the fucking fourth wall? What's happening?
What's the fourth wall?
Anyway, we're going to talk about Scorn.
Yes.
Scorn's
Yeah.
disgusting.
It's gloriously disgusting.
So I know almost absolute jack shit about Scorn. I watched the trailer. It looks very curious. I'm just very confused about what it actually is.
I don't think many people know what the fuck it is, because all we know about is you have a fleshy gun, you are surrounded by fleshy things, and that's about it. That's all the information we have so far. Oh, and the
Well-
game's supposed to come out 2018. That's all.
So
That's it.
so you're saying the game is a fresh out of fresh?
Kill yourself.
Out.
Terrible. Moon, you are no longer welcome in this podcast. Please leave. You are free to disconnect yourself.
Well, if I
I am
may.
outraged. I am outraged.
Oh damn! You made Ling outraged, Moon.
Don't do
Yeah.
that.
What
He's
is the date
calmest
today?
person I ever know.
we need to commemorate
it's,
this.
It's the 5th of October.
Fucking
Is
shit.
it?
Yes, it's the 5th of October. Well, technically,
Stop
30
talking!
minutes
Please
ago,
stop
it
talking!
was the
Please
5th
stop
of
talking!
October.
Please stop
Quick,
talking,
Power,
Powerhead!
give me the lottery
Please stop
numbers.
talking! Oh my fucking god! Jesus Christ! You people are odd. So I have played the demo of Scorn.
Oh, you actually played it?
Yes, because
Alright.
I backed it on Kickstarter.
When can I get it? Oh, I need to. pay
Yeah,
money,
you need
okay.
to back it on Kickstarter. I
Yeah.
backed it on Kickstarter, and I won't
How
lie.
did you enjoy it?
Well, I won't lie. What's that? The thing that made me decide to back it was the fact that you get a digital world map.
Oh, okay.
This was like I wanted to back it, but I'm not sure. And it's like you get a HD digital world map of the game. Like, okay, I'm backing it now.
So you just get a cheat sheet if you back the game.
I don't know what the digital world map entails. I'm
Like, is it the actual like?
there is
game,
no
like-
preview. I just
Okay.
figured I like maps, fantasy landscape maps, and I figured
Doesn't
this
the
would
game
be
have
interesting.
an in-game map?
I don't.
think it
No,
does.
it doesn't. Okay.
Does it?
Anyway, back to the question Ling asked. I liked it. It's
No. First of all, what is?
Yeah, I'm about to
Scorn?
explain that. Scorn is a first-person perspective game, right? It has the shooter mechanics that you would expect something. You're holding a gun, you can shoot at things, but it's not this actiony type. It's not Call of Duty, right? Obviously, it's a lot more. It's a lot slower pace. It has some. I wouldn't call them puzzle elements. I would call them sort of like. Well, I guess it does qualify as puzzle, but there isn't no like.
I don't know. Is a labyrinth a puzzle?
It's not. It's not. Well, the demo is very short. It's not particularly labyrinthian. It's just. It's not linear. Okay,
Right.
You will do some backtracking, which maybe they could have. They can increase the movement speed a bit because of all the backtracking, but I'm assuming everything's balanced to this movement speed already, so it might be difficult for them to do. But it's this sort of atmospheric. I don't want to call it a walking simulator because you do more than just walk. You interact with things, you shoot at things,
So it's effectively a first-person exploration game with some shooting and some puzzles.
This is what it feels like.
And flesh, lots and lots of
Yes, the thing is,
flesh.
If I had to give an idea of what you might expect, it's imagine one of the earlier Resident Evil games, but in first person, right? You don't necessarily have to kill everything. You don't necessarily have to just go in guns blazing, right? There isn't a stealth thing. There isn't a stealth mechanic. You can't jump. At least the demo, you can't jump. So it's very specific in what it needs you to do. But you can interact with things. You can move. You can shoot at things, and you can deactivate stuff. One thing that was I don't know how I feel about it, but the UI is very minimalistic. They really want you to look at the world.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
I mean,
worked perfectly for Dead Space. No reason why it shouldn't work here.
It's not even to the level of Dead Space. Like Dead Space has
no UI,
pseudo UI, right?
It's like the entire UI is incorporated in
the game world on you, right?
On you, yeah. It's like Far Cry 2 as well. Like if you wanted to pull up a map in Far Cry 2, you'd actually like pull up like a cardboard with a map there, and like that's perfect. I
mean, this is this is still UI. It's sort of integrated into the whole thing. It's still UI, but exactly. Scorn barely has any UI, right?
Well, what's there to have? Like some health indicator, ammo indicator, and
your health indicator only flashes when you either in like when you look at your ammo or when you take a hit, right? You'll see your health. When you're reloading the gun, which is very interesting the way it does it, by the way, your existing the amount of ammo you have remaining will show up in a very faint UI to the right of the screen.
Yeah, kind of like Metro did it. You still, especially if you played Metro on the hardcore difficulty, where there was literally almost no UI.
It's the most realistic, quote-unquote realistic.
So you basically you actually had to count the bullets, and you could actually see the amount of bullets you had left in your clip.
You mean the only real way to play Metro without being fancy-ass Western spy?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God,
what was it called? It's called Ranger mode, right? Ranger hardcore.
Yeah, Ranger.
Yeah.
I guess they could have done this with Scorn, because already if you want to look at your ammo in your gun, you need to pull it up and take it apart and look at the glowing bullet things. Yeah. They could have done this, but everything just takes forever in this game. So
I think that's when, after watching the actual alpha gameplay, that they
takes forever. Right, like if you want to reload your gun.
That's one of the things that bugs me a bit about the game. I know it's not supposed to be actiony in any way. Like it's more supposed to be an exploration game. You're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
I
get that, but it's like you get like this shotgun, fleshy, slimy thing that you'll put in your gun, right? And it's like loading that fucking thing takes for fucking ever. And I realized that there's probably not going to be a lot of enemies in your screen at the same time, but it's like you're loading like these, let's call them flesh pellets, right? 'Cause that's essentially what they
glowing
are.
flesh
It's
pellets.
like glowy, fleshy, disgusting pellets, and it's like, and it's so fucking slow, and I don't know, it doesn't flow well with the rest of the with the rest of your movement doesn't flow very well, and as for an exploration game, that's a bit important, even if you're not going to shoot things. But still,
I still would hesitate to call it an exploration game. Like maybe it is an exploration game. I still would hesitate to call it that specifically, but
well,
I agree that the
right
game
now
feels too slow. Like I played it and it feels too slow to me.
I call it an exploration game because like right now you have no idea, like at least in the demo that you have right now, there's no dialogue, no intro, there's no explanation. Like you throughout the demo there are certain I guess checkpoints where like you insert your arm and like a spike. And
This is
like
there you go.
Sort of parasite.
If you integrate if you want to interface with I guess panels, what passes as panels, it's again it's in the game world. There's this whole idea of integrating the UI in the game world.
And like you get that sense because you're basically like, it's like
it's very simple.
Symbiotic.
You can understand what's happening, but you know it might
it's
take
like
a few seconds.
thing. It's super weird because like you have no idea where that came from and where
the game's covered in meat, so.
Yeah, exactly. And
that is not the most far-fetched thing in this.
Sometimes I fucking hate that fucking art style. Like Link there over there knows.
What, Geiger? Geiger?
No, not Geiger.
No.
Like, you ever played Skullgirls?
Yeah, this
I've
guy like we sometimes play Skullgirls and we're both bad, but there's a special set that's all body horror with eyes and fleshy bits and blood everywhere, and he just locks up. He stops playing.
I don't. I put down the controller. No, that's like I hate it.
That's amazing.
It's like the only reason why I tolerate that in Scorn is like there's. First of all, it doesn't go a bit overboard. Like in that Skullgirl stage, it's like the stage is called Gehenna. It's just eyes and flesh and bone and sinew, and it's disgusting.
There's a visual novel you need to play.
I fucking hate that.
No.
Like no, there is not. Shut up. Shut up. I know what.
Something.
No. Shut up.
You should play that.
I hate that. I fucking hate that. When I played, I have no mouth and I must scream. Like when you play as the German guy, there's a whole section where you're in a concentration camp. Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen.
So it's like, come on, the game is like 30 years old. Come on,
basically.
No one's
and it's like,
accusing you of spoiling.
And it's like it's the whole anthropomorphics, whatever the fuck it's called. Like basically, it's the principle of changing your DNA to basically become something else. And first time I played through the game, I was absolutely disgusted by it. I like the way that they described it was disgusting, especially like I then got interested about it and I went to read the book. It's not really a book; it's a short story.
I guess you just have a low threshold for these things, then.
I mean, I fucking hate. I like. It's a concept that fucking. I find it disgusting because it's like, it's like, it's one thing to have the technology to you yourself having a choice to like become something else, like in sci-fi, like genetic manipulation and all that. I find that's all very interesting, but when.
Well, would you qualify that as a phobia? Because I know people who are deathly afraid of snakes that they can't even look at snakes.
I have a short film for Power after we're done.
Oh my god, no. Like,
I've known of a case of someone who's afraid of knees.
Of what? Knees?
Knees are weird. Knees are shapely weird. I can understand that phobia, although I don't.
Am I lagging?
Okay.
No. I don't think you're
Maybe? Possibly.
I heard a phobia
Yeah,
of
but
knees.
Back to Scorn, it reminds me of another game that has been in development for quite a
Yeah,
while and is kind of
just
hyped.
sorry to interrupt you, but just like to close it off. So yeah, I fucking hate that fucking design, but Scorn does it pretty well, and there's a
It
difference
all
between.
blends very
Yeah,
very
it,
well
it, it
together.
blends together because like sometimes you look at something and wonder, is that biological or mechanical?
Yeah,
So it's
everything.
very
Some
like
some
so
bits
it's
look
very
ossified rather than.
yeah, exactly. So it's
yeah.
very toned down, so I can tolerate it a bit. But if there are sections where they just go overboard, like there's something that's just
Maybe,
something
maybe.
I really
I
can't
might.
handle. Like
I should show you some screenshots. I would say this before Moon says his piece. Scorn to me feels creepier than it does feel that it looks disgusting.
mm.
Maybe I just.
I think like if you knew what was going on, maybe it was more disgusting and less creepy. I think because the creepy factor I think comes from the fact that you have absolutely no fucking idea what's going on. It's like the guy's like putting his arm into things and like his arm gets
Maybe.
attached to things and he's like, you know, like
Who cares?
you're
I
like,
have no skin. Who cares?
Are you not even going to explain what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Like
Anyway.
maybe I think that's it.
Moon.
Scorn reminds me a lot of another game that's been in development. I think they had a successful Kickstarter. I'm not sure.
Agony.
Yes, Agony.
Yeah, Agony. But Agony is more like fantasy than this.
Well,
type
Yeah,
of thing.
it looked like hell.
I mean, Agony is like you're in hell. Period.
Yes. And
But
hell
it
is
They
made
don't
of
have
flesh.
explicit. Yeah, they don't explicit what hell, but you're basically in hell. I mean, you play as a lost soul. The game tells you this.
You talking about Agony is curious because it's kind of related to the suggestion I wanted to do in the end.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Agony is a lot more blatant with the fleshiness.
Yeah, Agony is a lot more in your face. I mean, I think Scorn doesn't try to shock you, but Agony does.
Yeah.
Because like I think Agony grabs that concept like, okay, people talk about hell all the time. Let's give them something that resembles hell. But I think they do it in a way that's like, okay, like I don't think the people working on Agony, although the idea is very interesting. Don't get me wrong. I'm also like excited for Agony. I would like to try that game. The game looks very interesting. But I think that the people working on it don't realize that horror is supposed to be a very simple thing. The reason why I think Scorn is effective on that creepy thing is that it doesn't tell you anything. It's there and you have to look at it and you process the information yourself. Agony just blatantly tells you you are in hell, you are a lost soul, you are trying to get out. These are people in hell, that's a demon, that's a,
No, but I argue that
and Scorn doesn't tell you anything of this.
but it doesn't. It's not just about info. There's also horror in knowing. But that being said, like you're in hell and there are demons. You don't know what these demons can do. You don't know. You know, there is also the component of not the well, I guess the unknown, because you don't know exactly what these demons can do, but in the moment, right?
Right.
Like you're in hell, you enter. Like, okay, this is the reason why I couldn't play Outlast, because I know what's happening, right? I know.
Outlast is even more ridiculous than
here's the
Agony.
thing: I know what's happening, and there was this section, like at the start of the fucking game, in the basement that was a bit flooded, the flooded basement. There was
when you first
something in it. No, there was an inmate of the asylum walking around in the darkened area, and you had to like turn on generators, and it made noise, and the guy would know where you are.
Yeah. I remember that.
Couldn't move. I was just hiding in a locker.
Yeah.
And I just nope, not gonna play this game. Nope, I cannot.
Okay. I get it.
So
I get it.
Agony could still make use of this type of I don't know if I would call that
Agony
horror,
has
but
one.
No, I'd say Scorn is a
blatant
lot
flaw,
closer. Like Scorn is slower paced, and like I just because they tackle slightly similar themes and in a way have a slightly similar visual design. Because Agony does the body horror and freshness everywhere a lot as well. But in terms of gameplay and pacing, Scorn, at least from what I've seen of it, reminds me a lot more of System Shock than actual
Yeah.
Agony.
Ah.
Agony
Well,
looks a
Agony,
lot
I
more like
think-
an action game.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Agony has one thing that like really, really cripples it. It's like like you're playing as a lost soul, and throughout the game, you apparently gain the ability to control, to possess some like lesser demons, right?
Yep.
And this is something that cripples it heavily because it's like you're basically in a horror game empowering the main character, and like no,
There
I'll need
are
to
bigger
try
demons.
it.
There's
Like,
always a bigger
okay.
fish, right?
no, but it's like yeah, I know there's a bigger thing, but like
I don't
most of
think
the-
horror has to be about disempowerment. If anything, it's cliched. Like after Amnesia's success, everyone went to do that, and with Outlast, I personally think it got to the other extreme and just tired. It's like
This is the
Outlast
thing.
is in my. I've
okay.
tried a bit of Outlast.
I think okay, sure. I'm not okay, sure. You can have some degree of power in horror, sure, fine, but I think you shouldn't be able to use it properly. Like the perfect like Silent Hill. Silent Hill does like the first and the second, like Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. They do it perfectly. You have a combat system, but the combat system is shit. This is not a design flaw of the game. The combat system is supposed to be shit because you're supposed to be fighting like shit. You're not supposed to be fighting at all.
I don't like this argument.
Like why?
Because you're basically well, I mean, it's this idea that the developer just couldn't make a good combat system. It's just like, oh,
No,
look,
no, it's
we
not
made
that
a
they
combat
could-
system that's terrible
No,
because your character's terrible.
The thing about the combat system in Silent Hill isn't that they couldn't make a better combat mechanics. Is that they didn't want to, because like Silent Hill 2, like the first weapon you get is just a cardboard. It's just cardboard. It's just a plank of wood, right? And like to beat like one of the monsters with the plank of wood is hard, and it controls all weird and it's all floaty. Like,
I know what you're getting at. Like
you know,
like if you look at Resident Evil 4, when you try to aim the gun, the crosshair sort of, it's hard to aim. I know why they do this, because it's like it's taking power away from the player, and I fucking hate this.
I hate it in Resident Evil. I'd say it's extremely appropriate in Silent Hill.
Yeah. Well, Resident Evil, I think, like, has a curve. You start by feeling like you're just a guy with a gun surrounded by zombies, and then by the end of the game, you have grenade launchers and rocket launchers and one-shot revolvers and like Resident Evil.
agree,
I think Resident Evil takes another route. Resident Evil just throws bigger and bigger stuff
Yeah,
at
but
you.
when you have the grenade launchers, you have a fucking Nemesis robot demon after you.
I'd also say Resident Evil is just in a way the devs, like Resident Evil never had good controls ever. It's more of a systematic failure to make good controls than a deliberate design choice, in my opinion. Because it's not the same thing as Silent Hill.
I think it's a deliberate design choice by Resident Evil 4.
Then it's bad, because in Silent Hill,
Resident Evil 4 was remade like 3 or 4 times.
Resident Evil 4 is a third person.
It is third person, yes. They're all third person.
I think, but I would argue that the bad movement controls apply more to the first 3 games. Where you had the fixed camera and they had
to be fair, Resident Evil 4 still has poor controls. Like, come on, you aim and shoot by pressing 2 buttons, and you have to move the aim with the left analog stick, and you can move your camera in a 180 degrees left and right, and like a couple of degrees up and down. And that's about it. And if you want to, and you don't turn your character with the camera, you turn your body independently of the camera. And like, come on, it's incredibly messy to control Resident Evil 4. If you're not used to it, like first time playing, it's incredibly messy to control, I think.
Yeah.
First time I got my hands on the game, I was playing it on my PS2 long time ago. and it's a mess to control because like you move with the left analog stick, but you have to move the camera with the right. That's fine, but you can only move the camera in an 180 degrees left and right, and if you need to turn, you need to actually turn with the left stick, and then you need to and then you'd have to use the right analog stick to basically like center the camera, and then you pull out your gun, and you can't move while you have your gun pulled out, and you need to aim with the same analog stick that you used to move instead of the one to move the camera, and like it's a bit of a mess, but like I think it's a somewhat deliberate mess. I mean, it's not terrible.
See what you
it's
mean,
not completely terrible.
Well,
It's playable, but it could have been a lot better.
I guess, but
Yeah.
if it was about battle, if it was easier to control, I think at least in the first sections of the game, when you have like your PS4 pistols and all that, I think the game would be incredibly easy.
Why I
already is.
really disliked in Resident Evil is that Resident Evil is ultimately an action game first, a horror game second. Like you are gonna kill a lot of shit in that game.
Yeah.
And if
Which
the main activity is
Resident
killing
Evil?
shit, all of them.
All of
But,
them.
Like the first three, they have the excuse that first off they're pretty much console only until they got ported, and secondly it was very much they were testing technologies.
Yeah,
It
but
was very much a new thing. It was 3D. They didn't know how to do the
yeah,
camera.
but I wouldn't call these primarily an action and secondary horror.
No, I would. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and
especially
6.
1. I
Even
wouldn't call-
Revelations.
I wouldn't
No,
call
I would.
one
I
an
would.
a primary
You
action.
get you get incredible amounts of ammo, even in the classic Resident Evil games. Like by the end of the game, you have enough ammo to just destroy the entire world like 3 times over. Like I think the only Resident Evil game that does that properly is probably the new one,
7.
and even then. Yeah, it's Resident Evil 7, and even then the game goes incredibly overboard with the whole survival thing, and if you play your cards right, you can have more than enough ammo to just kill every single enemy in the game easily. So like even when they try, it's still like I don't think it's a problem with the design choice. I think it's a problem with just the way that they make the enemies and the combat and the way to progress. I mean, it's fine, but it's not really survival horror. Like, you don't have a problem hoarding stuff. Like, unless you're a complete idiot in Resident Evil 7, there is no way you would have no ammo, because, like, you would save it for the enemies you can defeat. There's only, like... And for the first, like, 30 minutes of the game, you only find enemies that are invulnerable. So, like, there's no actual reason to spend ammo on them. And if you're smart enough to do that, then you can just hoard ammo for the enemies you do need, and by that time you'd always have enough ammo to defeat everything.
Yes, but if you combine it with the clunky controls, it doesn't make for very reliable firepower.
Resident Evil 7 doesn't have clunky controls.
No, I'm talking about the first game.
Yeah, but the first one's like you'd still have more than enough ammo to kill everything.
I know. I don't see the power creep in the first one.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's not really power creep. It's that your main action and the main way you progress to stuff is killing.
Yeah, but
it.
the point, at least if I understood correctly, the Powerhead was making was that the horror aspect, the survival horror aspect, goes away if you hoard ammo, or like if you amass enough power in the form of ammo by the end of the game. You know, power creep.
Yeah.
But we were talking about Scorn.
Well, yeah. Then we started talking about horror mechanics.
Yeah. I don't think I still wouldn't call Scorn a horror game. I would call it. It's an intriguing. It's a creepy, intriguing, eerie game.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting. Like I'm obviously I backed it on Kickstarter.
I'm totally unbiased, guys.
Yes, I'm completely unbiased.
Oh,
like
yes.
the paragon of
I can tell.
objectivity.
Spellbound will you take me out to dinner if I get you an HD map of something?
Depends of what, and two, if I can get a discount on plane tickets to Bulgaria, because they're kind of far away.
Okay, we'll have to discuss that further after the podcast.
Curious.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Anyway, I want to give my 2 cents about the Resident Evil games. I think they're essentially action games that rely on horror elements and atmosphere to be a thing. Like, the controls being bad is terrible,
Yeah.
but they're a part of the game. Unfortunately, they are. And the controls being terrible does contribute to
To the horror.
the feel the person has while playing their character. Like, there was a time I played the game, I binge played the games, so I was really good at controlling the characters. So everything they threw at me was literally a matter of understanding how to defeat it, or if I should just shoot them in the head, or if I should just run away because it's some kind of bullshit immortal enemy.
Yeah.
Which ends up being, it is an action game. It's an action game with horror tropes and themes, but it is an action game in the end.
I just think, like, there is merit to a deliberately faulty control system if your main action isn't supposed to be fighting things, and if your character is deliberately not a fighter, like Silent Hill. I think in Resident Evil it's just bad game design and bad controls.
That's true, because in Resident Evil, pretty much all the characters you play as are supposed to have some sort of either military or police training. Like, they should not be this incompetent.
It's like, I think Dead Space actually straddles the line between, like, it's deliberately kind of, Dead Space 1. It's kind of faulty, like you're not very precise, but it doesn't hamper you in any way, and it doesn't feel bad to control.
I agree. I think Dead Space is a very good example of that. Yep.
Dead Space is pretty good.
That being said, I'm very okay with Dead Space 4 being completely actiony.
Yeah,
I thought 3 was really fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I like Dead Space is a good series of games, but they're not horror games.
Yeah. I mean, the first one is.
No,
I would call the first one a horror game, although it becomes a bit less horror once you realize that if you hear the music, turn around.
Well, yeah,
kind of.
Like that's the same with Resident Evil, but at least in 4, 5, and 6, and so on.
Oh, speaking of horror games and horror game tropes, playing Resident Evil. So I have my shotgun. I picked up a shotgun. I have a shotgun. I'm feeling important. I walk in a house. So I walk in a house in a neighborhood that's mostly destroyed, and I know I'm playing a game with zombies. So I look at the couch, and there's like a family on the couch, and they're apparently dead. So me being me, what do I think? Well, if I go close, they'll wake up and try to eat me. So I switched my pistol not to waste too much ammo, and I shot each one of them in the head.
Yeah. And I think I know this level. This is in Resident Evil 6.
Probably, I don't remember. So I swapped back the shotgun just in case, because I'm turning corners. I walked towards the family. Like, this is very odd. None of them reacted.
Right.
So I just get as close as I can to each of them and shoot my shotgun at each one of them. Like, no one reacted. Okay, and I think to myself, well, maybe they're just part of the scenery for, you know,
the setting.
the setting, the environment.
Mhm.
Like, okay, so I walk past the family. I reach for the door, which it was a small house. The door was barely after the family. And once I get to the door handle, I get the small cutscene where the family wakes up as zombies and they try to walk to me and eat me. I'm like,
God fucking damn it.
you know,
Yeah.
this is not. I'm playing a game, and my mentality is be careful because you have to survive. It's effectively the closest thing you have to a hardcore game. You only get checkpoints and that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm playing a horror game with things that get up from the dead, and I can't spot them before they get to me and eliminate them.
That's just kind of bad level design and scripting. That's actually one of the things I appreciated most about Dead Space is like they deliberately use that trope all the fucking time, but they let you kill things in advance.
Yeah, they do.
And sometimes you think it's a corpse that
just,
you already shot, and it just gets up.
Yep.
Yeah, the necromorphs sometimes like you.
They play dead.
Remember? Yeah, they play dead. It's great. Like you shoot them in the leg, and the leg just flies off, and then they just like flop to the ground. And
I die.
dead. It's great.
And you
then
come
you
close to
walk
it.
over them, and they're like, "Rawr!"
This is great.
I've had that happen several times, especially in Dead Space 1.
Yeah. That's why I like the game, and ultimately I think when you do that shit, you need to design it as a dynamic enemy behavior, like in Dead Space, and not scripted scenes. Scripted horror scenes just need to go. Just stop.
Because it's not scary then.
Yep.
Because that's the problem. If you know you are safe, like that's the problem right there. When you know you're safe, like, the entire suspense is gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, there's a big difference between playing a horror game, an action horror game, and a story horror game.
I guess, yes.
Yes.
But in these cases specifically, like as soon as you give the player some semblance of safety, the whole suspense just flies out the window.
Yeah, the trick is to make the player feel
safe.
He is safe while he is not.
Yep, and then take it away.
Yeah.
But that's I think that's a discussion for another day.
Yep.
So Scorn, please.
So Scorn, it looks good.
It looks
great. Interesting.
I'm definitely into it. I will play it when I get the copy, obviously.
I just hope we don't get more flesh than what already is, because I fucking hate that.
Oh, you would like to get more flair, huh?
Yes.
Oh, fresh.
No.
You're gonna get
fresh for the fresh god.
You're gonna get Scorn's meat and 2 veg.
Okay. Now that this is getting highly pornographic, I suggest we move on to the next topic.
Before we move on to the next topic, I wrote an article on Scorn on the website ludumcast.com. Go there.
Oh, cool.
Read it if you want to.
Everyone go there.
You want to know my thoughts on the matter. Yes.
Do traffic site.
Let's.
Before we move on, though, I have a.
God damn it. Yes.
While we're speaking of like early impressions of alpha videos, and I know this is a completely unrelated genre, but have you guys we wanted to talk about this before the E3 podcast? Remember Spellbound, Darksiders 3. Have you guys checked that video?
I mean, I know you're playing chick with a whip, and some I completely forgot what Darksiders 3 was about.
One of the complaints,
of course,
Powerhead had was that the whip was like a
wet
whip noodle.
Is a wet noodle. The characters I know that they only showed like 30 minutes of gameplay, but fucking still, supposedly it's after Darksiders 1 or during War's imprisonment, during the initial 30 minutes of Darksiders 1 or something. You play as Fury, one of Death and War's brother, sister in this case. and you have a whip, and the whip is just god fucking awful. Like what they showed, like did not pique any interest at all. Like I don't think that many people actually were interested in checking out Darksiders 3 even, which is really bizarre because the games are decently popular, but still like what they showed was really really terrible. I like if you have any interest in checking it out, just go check it out, but don't expect anything great because like everything seems incredibly generic. The weapon, at least the weapon that they show, doesn't feel good at all, and the boss fight at the end, while showing some interesting design, like the actual boss mechanic just seems incredibly just bland. I don't know. It's just
Well, I guess we'll find out
It's really-
when we have more footage. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
it's kind of old
In the
footage.
meantime- In the
Have said
meantime,
not entirely surprised because if I recall correctly, most of the original Darksiders dev team basically are not working on this
They're
game
gone.
because of
Yeah,
the THQ imploding. Like
Yeah.
Darksider is the franchise that suffered the most from THQ imploding.
Yep. It's being developed by THQ Nordic. They still exist in some form.
No,
But it's
they,
not. But
they,
it's not.
they,
But
they don't. It's just a name.
just
Like
the name.
Nordic games are a completely different entity. They just
Yeah,
not a large
exactly.
part of the THQ portfolio.
Yeah, and it's like it's not even being made by Vigil Games. Vigil Games were the guys that did the
Well,
first and second game.
I don't particularly care about Darksiders, so
I do. It's pretty fucking cool, but
I don't know.
Like,
The idea of the horsemen of the apocalypse being like, you know, this
badasses.
no. Also, I really don't like Death's design. I find
I
find the idea of like pumping iron Death just ridiculous. I can't get behind that.
It's not pumping iron. He's
Look at
you know,
him.
Just
look at him as a mountain of muscles.
Well, it takes like.
No, it's terrible. This is not how you do
I
Death.
guess the actual.
This is why THQ went under.
No, THQ went under because
My
they
God,
were dumb
I'm-
with their money. But
Jesus
like,
Christ, Powerhead.
but like, I think the game doesn't try to have them be the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
I think the
No,
actual
it's kind of
No,
the point of
kind of
it's
the
the
point.
point of the game because the point of the game, like from Darksiders 1, was
They don't feel biblical at all, especially
that's
Death.
the point.
That's
Like
the
the
point.
entire game subverts the biblical.
Yeah, I guess I don't like that then.
tropes. Well, yeah, then
there
you-
are angels and
like
demons
it.
and some names you might recognize from biblical lore, but nothing that like. Come on, the horsemen are war and death. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Then you have fury and strife.
Yes.
I mean, those two aren't evil fucking horsemen.
Yes.
it's just-
And the angels they look more like fucking Kagans than angel because they're all in these power suits and technology and stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
not
but
attempting to be biblical.
Yeah,
at
it's not
all.
really attempting to be biblical, but it's like
No, I
There's
get
no
that.
mention-
My point is that the horsemen don't feel like they're supposed to be like harbingers of these
War-
things that they're.
war and death do. But when you look at
I have a
fury,
specific
like
problem with Death. I do not like his design at all.
okay, like I think the actual thing here is like the horsemen as character. When you look at them, you're not supposed to look at them and think like a representation of a concept. I think that's more for their special forms, right? Because
Mhm.
like war, when you use that special transformation that you got, you just transformed into it was a balrog basically, but it's like but it was this fiery creature like destroying everything in its path. Like that was the actual character of war, like the representation of war was in that thing, that special form that you would unlock. And death also had it with its reaper form, when you would actually turn into the fucking grim reaper and just float around and use a big ass fucking scythe to decapitate stuff.
I
but,
guess.
like,
I still,
when
I
you-
still
when
like
you
his
look at-
character design.
But like when you look at fury, like first of all the horsemen are supposed to represent a concept that's supposed to be destructive
Mhm.
and apocalyptic. Like
Mhm.
they're the horsemen of the apocalypse. But like you look at Fury and you're like, so she's angry all the time. Like,
Yeah, I
Um,
think her character design is just weak.
like
for
first of
me.
all, she looks fucking horrible. She looks like a fucking Eldar who went through the washing and something went completely fucking wrong with her. Like she tumbled way too much on her fucking head. Like her head's completely. She looks like a fucking alien. Well, she looks like an Eldar, but you know what I mean.
Her eyes
then,
are
like,
huge.
Yes,
Her
they
eyes are
are. Her
huge.
eyes are fucking huge, like big fucking, somewhat pointy anime eyes. It's fucking weird.
Yeah,
And then you have, and then like her whole design is like weird. She has armor and like like swooshing hair, but you look at it and like she's Fury, and it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to see when you look at it? Like you look at fucking war and you see a fucking warrior, right?
Mhm.
That's what you're supposed to see when you look at war.
War's design
It's
is
a warrior.
fine.
Right. War design is fine. I mean, that's design, even if you can't go past the whole muscle thing. I mean, you look at the guy and he's like, he's wearing a mask. He has those big, like, fucking yellow, creepy eyes. And,
Mhm.
like, his whole movement is slick and fast. And he has the whole sight thing going for it. And it works. I think it works. Like, even if you disagree with his design, like, you look at it and it's an intimidating dude that could kill you in a second. Like, that's the whole point. You like, but you look at her and it's like it's a chick with wheels and swooshy hair that has a whip that goes. Whoosh. I mean, it's Fury, but it's like no, not even fucking that. Like Slanesh can be fucking creepy, but Fury isn't. She's just bland. She's a and like how can you be bland with the whip? It's a whip. You can have it like extend the whip and swing it around in ridiculous speeds and make it interesting. But instead you go for like, come on, you can do better than that.
It is pre-alpha, but yeah.
I guess, but like
Let's wait and see. I say.
Not impressed so far.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
like,
far not
really
impressed.
not impressed. Like, and I get mad at it. Like, I'm sorry, I kind of stole the whole topic there, but like, I was just like, it gets me really mad because I fucking love the franchise, and seeing it go under because of like THQ fucking stupid ass economical decisions make me like really fucking mad because it's a really good series. And like I hope they can rescue it from oblivion. I really do, but so far it looks really bad. That's
Well.
it. That was my rant. thing.
Well, I don't
can
think
move
you'll
on
get any disagreements from us.
Yes.
Well, let's
Well,
move
I
on.
haven't played the game, so I can't agree or disagree with you.
Well, weren't you playing Darksiders 1 a couple of months ago?
Yeah, I still need to finish it. I'm like almost at the end, I believe.
I'll be
go finish
honest.
it. It's really-
I don't particularly care one way or another.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
look bad, but I don't particularly care about Darksiders.
Ruiner.
Darksiders specifically. Yes, Ruiner.
Yeah, moving on.
Things that came out recently and are
Yes.
relevant.
Yes.
No, not
I'm
Monsol topic. Ruiner.
I shall open this. I watched the trailer. It's a top-down action game thingy, and it looks fucking amazing,
Since it-
especially because it's a very futuristic
Cyberpunk.
looking cyberpunk game. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Spellbound. And both the thematics and the apparent gameplay from the trailer, I want to get this game. I'm gonna get this game. I don't care if I don't have money to eat. I'm going to get this game, and I'm going to be entertained.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
that's one
Well,
way to
that's
live.
I
It's
think
a
that's the
pretty
best
good
fucking.
trailer.
I mean, it's
I
your
think
money.
it's the best fucking recommendation you could do for a game. Because like, this game's so fucking good, I'm going to buy it even if I fucking starve.
I'm fat, okay? I can afford starving.
You can survive on your fat. Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Of course.
That's actually true.
Oh my,
Yes, I mean,
you fucking dick.
you won't starve. Actually, you'll fast.
Oh wait, no, I can't say fucking dick anymore in these, can I?
I mean, kind of right.
Well, shit.
What? You said it
By
twice
the
already.
magic of editing.
But just bleep.
No,
Just bleep.
no.
No.
Don't start giving me extra work. Jesus Christ.
I don't like editing.
What's the rating for this podcast again?
In existence?
Four, like like 4 people, including us.
Oh, you mean like
So
the
it's like-
parent rating thing, like
Yeah.
18 plus? Yeah, it's 18 plus. Let's go with that.
Yeah, it's 18 plus. Adults only. Oh my.
It's safe
Wow.
only for life. Right. Let's go.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's fuck shit up. I'm fine.
So,
with
yes.
as far as I know, me and Spellbound have played the
Yeah.
winner, and you two guys haven't.
I've
Yeah.
seen gameplay of. I've seen
Yeah.
people play it. I haven't played it myself. No.
I have a fundamental problem with that game. Okay, so I play on a mouse and keyboard. I did try with the controller, and it's even more unplayable with that.
What?
I can't fathom how people play twin sticks on controllers.
You use the left analog to move and the right to aim.
Yes, this is my problem. How the fuck do you
That's
aim
about
with a?
That
You could.
it's a twin stick shooter. It
Yes,
flows
but it's
How
it's you
how
you
do-
just turn the analog stick in the general direction of the thing. It's not precise.
It's not supposed to. You're firing a million fucking bullets
Well,
at the
Ruiner
second.
is not about firing a million bullets, though.
Well,
yeah,
that's
you
true.
kind of need to be precise in Ruiner.
Yeah,
Specifically, your ammo is very limited.
yeah.
So
There are a lot of guns
Actually,
that drop on
now
the
this-
ground, but
now this makes sense to me when you said it's more melee oriented, because I never tried with the controller. I still don't like the mouse and keyboard controls, but like I hit most of my shots, so to me it's more of a range game because I nearly never run out of ammo. I just pick up another gun, but I do hit most of my shots, and I try to aim specifically. So
Yeah.
if you played with the controller as a normal twin stick, it might actually be more of
a melee oriented. I can see the
Yes.
melee sort of working if you didn't have to constantly use the right analog to face the direction you want to hit in, right? It uses the same mechanic, range melee, just the same thing. If you want to
Yep.
shoot a gun, you use the right analog to decide what angle you're aiming at. Same thing for melee, but with the controller has one advantage over the mouse that I maybe it's just a key that I didn't find, but with the controller, if you right shoulder, what is this one? Right back shoulder button, RB and RT.
Yeah,
you will-
the
you will-
right button instead of the right trigger.
There you go. You will. That just should tell you how much I use the controller. You will melee attack, but if you do the other one, you will shoot your currently equipped gun. So you can on the fly switch between the two. I don't think you can do this with the mouse. You have to manually switch to a melee weapon to use the melee. But I find the movement is so much easier with the mouse and keyboard. Specifically, like you can chain dashes together very easily with the mouse. I don't know if you can do that really well with the controller, but like I haven't really played extensive with it, but just the aiming was enough to put me off. The thing that makes the mouse and keyboard kind of unplayable with ranged weapons is the way the camera just moves. So the camera is always pointed in a place between your cursor and your character. So if you move your cursor to the left of the screen, your camera will sort of it will be on a point between your character and your cursor. If you move to the right, it will go to the right. But the movement that it does is kind of jarring, and it throws my aim off completely. I have so much trouble aiming in this game, like to the point that I just give up and just melee everything. And I don't think it's a very good way to play. At least maybe you'll need some more powers to be able to play effectively as a melee. In melee,
you can, but you need to spec that way.
Yep. But I'm having so much trouble with this. But it's a hard game too, so maybe that's kind of the point. But I'm not into it. I have too much trouble just handling the weird movement and camera controls. It's just I've better things to do. What's your assessment of the game, Moon?
Okay, but wait, that's gameplay wise, right? What
Yeah.
about like artistic? What about like in the artistic aspect?
Oh, the
Like,
game is fantastic. If you like cyberpunk, it's cyberpunk in droves.
Yes, it's a really nice rendition of Cyberpunk.
A bit too much red though.
Yes, I was going to get to that. It shows a bit that like some of the Witcher devs worked on this.
Did they just take the
it's
CD
kind of-
Projekt logo in through?
I mean, not really, but it has a kind of similar feeling to the world, a bit, just cyberpunky. But
Oh, you're talking about that, okay.
It is too red, and there's too much particle effects to the point where at times it's hard to see your character or what's on the ground or guns. It just
You know what? Yeah, yeah. It is sometimes the battlefield looks a bit too. There's just too much going on from time to time, and I'm still very early in the game, so. I don't know.
it gets busier.
Damn.
And especially there's a lot of red everywhere. Like, I don't know if that game would even be playable if you're colorblind to red in particular. Just varying shades of black the screen.
Oh man. I don't know. I if they fix the like spastic camera controls, I might be able to recommend it, but I personally can't.
Speaking of controls, no rebindable keys. Don't do that. Just don't
bad.
do that. That
That's
is
bad.
bad.
That's really fucking bad.
That's true. You can't Yes, the dash was bound to the right click.
Yes.
And I was trying to move it to something else. Like I was using one of the side buttons on the mouse for Andromeda for dashing. I was like, I'm just gonna do that for every game now because it's just muscle memory, and I couldn't do it.
Yep.
That's terrible. Don't do that.
Like, if you like twin stick shooters, if you like Cyberpunk and you're used to the controls, absolutely get Winner. It's a great game, but if, like me and Spellbound, you're not that much into twin sticks and mostly got into it like because it was visually interesting and cyberpunk, like I love Shadowrun, I like all things cyberpunk, the controls are a bit of a struggle, and the other thing is, it doesn't help that it's really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Like that, it's a twin stick shooter for people that play twin stick shooters.
It's the Dark Souls of twin stick shooters.
I mean, I won't call it the
Shut
Dark
up!
Souls.
I know where you live. I'll stab you.
It's just like Dark Souls, you guys. It's Dark Souls.
Well, apparently.
Now that you mentioned Dark Souls,
Yeah. Go on.
people complain about control
Uh-oh.
schemes and ports. Okay. Personally, I'm complaining about them. For example,
you're cutting off a bit.
Your internet has decided to not let you have this conversation.
Once Link's gonna speak, I'm gonna start lagging the shit out of him.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Ping is fine.
Nope, it's missing words.
Great.
Just talk really fast. Just talk really fast so they can't interrupt you.
That makes no sense.
That's not how it works.
The internet, the lag gremlins won't be able to get you, Ling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Like if you talk really fast, they won't be able to interrupt you. So just go. Oh shit! Oh, there we go.
Okay, did that fix it?
Did it fix it?
I am
Maybe.
questioning this. Is it really better? Any better at all?
Well, it's fine now.
It
Just talk.
seems better. Yes, do it quickly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, with Dark Souls, I'm still to play Dark Souls 1, which had the worst PC port, but
Yes.
I've played the entirety of Dark Souls 2 several times, and most of Dark Souls 3 just with mouse and keyboard. I haven't finished Dark Souls 3 because I do not really have
I mean,
a graphics card for it anymore, because my old one kind of got busted, and my hardware overall is really bad. But
is that
yes,
such a bad thing
I've
though? Playing mouse and keyboard.
Not
For
in
most
Dark Souls
people
3
it
and 2, I
is.
think.
Really?
In Dark Souls 3,
Yeah.
you
Dark Souls
Actually,
1 is
did a-
fucking comparable with mouse and keyboard. You
Yeah.
are
Dark
right.
Souls
it is.
3, in Dark Souls 3, they made a really good port, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
you attack, your left mouse button uses your left mouse button uses your right
Oh,
Oh boy.
hand.
It's
Am
the
I lagging
gremlins.
the
again?
gremlins are back.
Yep.
For crying out loud.
The gremlins are back.
You swear to... No, it's not Steam.
Oh.
Gaben?
Hey,
But I've like for the longest time
So-
I've played everything on mouse and keyboard, like platformers, fighting games.
Every time Street Fighter, Skullgirls, all these fighting games,
Yeah.
keyboards.
Yeah, same.
People are like, what the shit? You play that with keyboard? I'm like, yeah, I feel it's really comfortable.
Yep.
So overall, I have always been really adaptable, and I've always played most of my games with the things I have. I recently got a controller, so I've been experimenting and trying the controller again since I haven't played controller games since forever.
Same.
I
Actually.
got it mostly for
I got it for
the
platformers.
Darksiders and maybe for the Dark Souls series,
Hmm.
but now I have it and I can utilize it.
I got it for Risk of Rain. Actually,
Curious.
yeah. I will admit that platformers do have an advantage with a controller with platformers, because I think, especially for me, there are fewer buttons to like confuse you. I tend to
That's
like
for me-
accidentally press buttons that are not bound, or
That's
you know.
very, very, very strange.
No, but
thing.
it's true. Like it because let's say like I have like
I understand.
yeah, I tend to, I
understand.
tend to miss to forget what buttons, or just like the muscle memory doesn't kick in quite right, and I press a different button.
I understand, although I find it odd.
I suppose.
But yes, so I even played a little bit of Fury, the top-down boss rush fighter game thing. Mouse and keyboard. I just do it. I've
Well-
been overall very adaptable, and I believe I would have absolutely no issue with Ruiner's control schemes. Though, I must say, having no rebindable keys is very aggravating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
That it is.
to apparently they're gonna patch rewindable keys in. I don't know when, but apparently the devs said they're gonna do it.
That's really good.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's-
I guess
that's-
better late than never, but still.
I guess.
Yes.
I guess.
It's one of those, oh fuck, we forgot about the rebindable keys. Quickly, you do some rebindable keys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man. Yeah, it's kind of bad though that you have no rebindable keys in 2017. It's a mark of I don't want to say inferiority, but
Just unless your game has like literally less than 5 buttons to control it, just don't do it.
Yeah,
yeah, I
Have
agree.
rewindable keys,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
please.
One
Yeah.
finger death punch.
one finger death.
Mm.
Come on,
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think that one finger death punch actually does have rebindable keys.
Yes, yes, it does. It does.
That's
It actually fucking does.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Which is amazing when you
That's
think about it.
Well, okay. So
There's that.
yeah, so Ruiner.
Yeah, minor problems with controls aside, and your mileage may vary because I don't play on controllers. Spellbound doesn't really play on controllers that much.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
both don't really play twin sticks.
Mhm.
It's a really good game, and also the leveling system and the skill tree that you can change at any point is really neat. There's like you can play
You
it
had
in a
me-
lot of different ways. For example, in particular, the shield that you have what
the
they
start.
showcased in trailers more often, just a shield that you hold onto yourself and you can't attack while using it, but it can deflect bullets with an upgrade. And also you can dash during the shield, and that actually does damage to enemies if you dash through them. And I tried working with that, but just the fact that I couldn't attack and had to time it specifically threw me off. Then I got a skill that you just place a barrier that you can shoot through, and made the game so much better. That worked for me
really?
so much easier.
Oh
Yeah,
god, I need that.
the barrier is great.
Yeah, I definitely need that because I find the action is a bit too spontaneous. Enemy side, it's like you see them, they shoot you, the bullets are in your face already.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Like having the barrier, and also another skill which is you know how they slow down time when you see an enemy for the first time. Yeah, there is a skill that's literally that, but on a button. Having that and the barrier is really good because you can just press that skill, put down a barrier, and then start prioritizing targets and killing them accurately.
You had me at dystopian cyberpunk.
Well, personally,
I
mean, personally, I'd like if they slowed everything down by like 25%, but maybe it's a difficult game, right? That's the type of game that it is. It is hard game, right?
Yep.
It's the Dark Souls of PlayStation.
God damn Power.
That's.
Oh god! Oh god!
Christ.
I'm running.
Leave the country.
Gotta go. I gotta go.
Leave the country.
I just recall I have no fuel to get there.
Oh god, you're safe. Yeah.
I win. Pricey fuel.
Yes, he needs to buy games instead of fuel.
Yes.
So you're safe for now, Powerhead. Well, I guess this is Ruina.
No.
Shall
ruin your world. No, that's terrible.
No.
Yes.
Shall we move on to the recommendations?
This is the part where we talk about shit we liked, right?
Yes.
Yes, when we talk about spicy endorsements and hoist people.
Look, everybody knows we're ripping off. What is it even?
The people.
Yes.
I don't think they do.
Do we even have enough of an audience to use the words everybody knows?
We have
Yes,
like 10
everybody
people,
includes all the people that are watching.
5.
Even if it's
We have
10,
like
it's
10
everybody.
people.
I don't think it's 10. I think it's fewer than that, but
It's fewer. I don't know. I think it depends on the episode.
If you actually listen to this and you're not on the Discord that we used to talk about this, send Spellbound a mail so we know how many people actually listen to this.
Yeah,
You know
just say hi.
this is a brilliant idea. Do
Yay.
that. Leave a comment on the YouTube thing.
I'm gonna go make a spam bot right now.
Link, can I send you money for fuel?
Your money has no power here. You use superior European currency.
Just make a Punch Powerhead GoFundMe.
I'm gonna make a Punch Powerhead Kickstarter with the $20 tier. You get a world map of Portugal
Oh, shit.
with Powerhead's house location on it.
Powerhead's house is just marked there and it says Punch here.
Oh my fucking god. You people are mean. Why are my friends with you people? Jesus.
Oh god. Okay.
Because you love it.
Oh man, I love punishment. Oh wait, what? No, that came out wrong.
Yes, you should still, if you love punishment, sign it with your endorsement.
Yes.
My endorsements.
Well, I was
have
calling
several. Where
recommendations
should I
because
start?
trying to sound like I'm not ripping them off, but fuck it, endorsements. Yes, go ahead, Powerhead.
Fuck it. Okay, I have several. First of all, the Guild Wars 2 expansion launched, and I recommend people like trying it. I think Guild Wars is a fairly unique MMO that tries to like not have a vertical progression system. Like there is some like gearing and obtaining better gear mechanics in there, but they're very manageable. They're very I wouldn't say easy. I think I'd say more. They're very accessible, and the whole progression system that they have is like just it's basically helps you play the game. I think the whole mastery system that they implemented last expansion is a fairly well done mechanic, and the game has a pretty great story and a pretty interesting world, and I think it's worth it, at least for that. It also has a very good PvP, although I think it's kind of a mess right now because of the new expansion launch. But it's an MMO I'd recommend. It's just a one-time payment. There's no subscription. So
Yeah, actually, this is the most attractive thing to me about Guild Wars.
yeah,
It's the one time.
it's a pretty. I think it's a pretty good MMO, and you should try it. In the meantime, Gwent is having a drunk dwarf competition. Wait, what?
I have a thing to add about Guild Wars that gets overlooked all the fucking time, but to me is amazing, and every MMO needs to do it.
What?
Reverse scaling! You can actually play with your fucking level 1 friends regardless of your character level. Why is this not an industry-wide feature?
I
would actually argue that Guild Wars, at the point it's reached, leveling is obsolete.
Yes, leveling. I was having this discussion with Ling. The level cap is 80, but I think there's no reason to have this anymore with the new progression systems. Everyone should just start at max level, or just remove completely the leveling system. Just have them play the game. I think
leveling gives you base stat. That's it. You don't unlock new skills. You don't.
Yep.
Well, you kind of do that. Your most unlockable things are from exploring the map.
Yeah, by getting to 80, you basically unlock your basic skills and your the minimum base stats. That's it. Your entire customization comes from your gear and the specs that you're using in your build, and the extra specs that they add with the expansions. They change your playstyle radically, and I think right now, as the game stands, there is absolutely no reason to have a leveling system anymore. There's no reason for it. Everyone should just start with level 80, or just do it in PvP where there's no level, just stats, and then just have people play the game to unlock stuff. I think the game would do perfectly fine with that.
Okay. What was your next thing?
My next recommendation is Gwent is currently having a Oktoberfest-like event where it's basically a competition between the drunk dwarfs and drunk skelliges. And the game mode's pretty fun. It's pre-made decks, and you have some neat mechanics in there, and it's incredibly fun. The dialogues are pretty funny, and I think you should give it a try. And if you haven't played Gwent yet, you should. It's a really good game, I think.
All right then.
And my final recommendation is just...
You can save those for later, you know?
I want to say it now, because then I get
recommend all the things.
And my final recommendation is just, I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who, and I think people should do the same. The series is pretty good, and I love it. And you should go watch it. That's it.
All right.
Those are my three for today.
No.
Recommendations. Alright, so I'm not gonna recommend anything gaming related. I'm gonna recommend fantasy book series.
Ah, okay.
Shiny.
I'm gonna recommend The First Wall by Joe Abercrombie. It's a fantasy trilogy.
Yes.
And it's really fun. It's a really wide read, but it manages to... It subverts a lot of tropes without being pretentious about it.
That's true.
Basically, the guy just set out to write a fun, interesting fantasy story in a new world, but mostly just wanted to tell a fun and interesting action-packed story. And it's just really well done. I've been reading it for the past several weeks, and I'm already at the end of the book 3. I read something like 100 pages per day. Just really pleasant book.
Yeah, I read it too. It's really good. I found the bit about the new king The way it was
I-
introduced, particularly hilarious. Oh my god, that was so
there
funny.
are a lot of really cool characters
That,
in
would,
that.
that bit was so fucking funny. I was losing it.
Gwokter has to be one of my favorite fantasy characters.
Yeah, just doesn't
ever.
give a
Like,
shit.
Gwokter for fucking president.
You haven't reached the end of book 3, right?
Yeah, I haven't. yet.
Okay, you'll see. He Glokta did Glokta things at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
That was great.
So yeah, the first war by Joe Abercrombie.
Yes, I will second that recommendation.
It's really good, and also probably on audible.com, even though we're not sponsored by it, unlike every other podcast on the internet.
Yes. Yet. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh well, we need to get more than 10 people listening to this though. Then maybe
Audible, send us email
send us people.
and money and things.
Yes.
Stuff.
Link.
Well, I have 2 games to recommend. One of them I have played extensively. The other one is currently in beta.
Mhm.
The first one is Alien Swarm.
Ooh, that, yes.
Alien Swarm. Dear
the
Lord,
game-
I want to play more Alien Swarm. It's a 4-player top-down co-op shooter where you are part of a squad of Marines fighting aliens.
I really want the 40k Alien Swarm. That's just all I want.
There's
Oh.
a mod for Space Marines.
Isn't there a
Yes, but
a Warhammer
it's
game
the
that's
whole
coming out that's sorry, isn't there a Warhammer game that's coming out that's sort of Diablo-esque? Inquisitor something?
We'll need to talk about that on another podcast.
Yes.
It's a long topic. Like
Okay.
every Warhammer game ever.
Yeah.
It's a long and yeah.
Oh crap. Alien Swarm. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty hard, and it has it has several difficulty settings,
Yeah.
and it's pretty challenging in all the settings.
That's friendly fire, isn't it?
Depends. You can
Oh.
have friendly fire. You can turn it off. You can try to make it as realistically and hard as possible, as in you don't shoot your own teammates.
Mm. Yeah.
Or you can just make it a very casual co-op game. It has a lot of mods. It's free to play on Steam. Alien Swarm, Reactive Drop being the rehash, relaunch, remake of the game. It's a lot
I
of
still
fun.
don't know like not that it's a bad thing, but why did they relaunch it? Makes no sense.
They remade a bunch. They remade the progression system, I think, right?
They remade the progression system. They made some of the campaigns that were community made baseline for the game. They also rebalanced some other things, I believe. I'm unsure. I would need to check out everything they did with the game, but it's the most recent version, so that's the one I'm recommending. I've played it. I wish I had more people to play it.
Well,
The other game,
yeah.
the other game, it's a
Drama.
game in alpha/beta. It's in Kickstarter, and it's a first-person perspective psychological horror.
Oh, that.
What?
What's it
Lust
called?
for Darkness.
Yeah, that's it.
Now,
Okay.
Lust for Darkness, I will
Oh.
read the description.
Yeah.
It's a first-person perspective psychological horror of seeking satisfaction on the border of 2 intertwining worlds. An intriguing plot with erotic and occult themes guides the player's character through the Yelverton's Victorian mansion and the perverse land inspired with Lovecraft's works and paintings of Moon.
Yes.
Excuse me, Moon. Read this for me.
What?
This is Polish.
Zdzislaw Bekzinski.
This is Polish.
Zdisław Begzinski, yes. Zdisław. I think that's
Oh,
On the
Bekzinski?
Z, like ch.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I will slap myself once I'm done with this.
I'm not. I'm not that kind of suave. Okay.
Okay. The game is apparently very not safe for work. Like, for crying out loud, on the Kickstarter page, you have a GIF of a steam-powered dildo piston machine.
Yeah, Victorian dildo machine. Yep.
What?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
steam-powered dildo.
What the fuck? I didn't know this.
Like, if you want, at least that's the impression I got, a very short one-sentence description of the game, it would be Swanesh Cultist Simulator.
Yes.
Shit.
In their Kickstarter, they say that the creators of Agony are backing them up as well. They're supporting them. So
cool.
if you back Lust for Darkness with at least the I don't remember which stage of backing, but there's one of the backers that, besides getting the alpha/demo version of the game to try it out, you also get the Agony demo.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So
Okay.
there's that.
That's a fair deal.
Otherwise, it's a very curious game because it fiddles with sexuality. And
Giggity, giggity.
yes, and the two streamers I've seen that went through the demo, besides being scared like little chickens, once they reached the end of the demo, the look on their face was the same. It was, "No, I want more. You can't end now, please."
It's pretty good.
I want more
So-
Victorian dildo machines.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
the game looks pretty nice.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
I think the funniest thing about that is how aggressive that machine is pumping all the time. It's just gonna.
See, horror's simple. You don't need to like throw dildos at people's face. Just make them uncomfortable with the dildo in their presence. Horror, dildo horror. It's
Yeah.
Is
great.
dildo horror our next
Oh,
podcast
God.
topic?
Yes, our next team will be dildo powered horror.
It's curious because it's a psychological horror game that ends up starting by looking like a walking simulator where you experience things, that picks up Lovecraftian themed ambience, and then had sexuality to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
To be fair,
Tentacles.
Lovecraft was always pretty sexual. Well, it depends on the story in particular, but
Well,
it
yes,
covered sexual themes quite a lot. If anything, like the Lovecraft theme has been a bit, in a way, sanitized in when it's been lifted in other media and games.
A bit. This is true.
I suppose, yes.
Cthulhu had massive boners.
Well,
It drove people insane.
Well,
yes. So,
Well-
Spellbound, the actual host, what is your
Oh
indulgence?
wow. Aside from like transdimensional boners,
Yes.
I have
man,
something.
that's wow. That list, wow.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just gonna recommend a YouTube channel. It's got nothing to do with anything we discussed today. It's about a guy who lives in.
It's a channel about boners.
No, it's a guy who lives in South Africa,
Oh,
and he owns 2 tigers, and he
What?
makes videos about his tigers.
Oh,
Okay.
The recent the reason why is that the recent videos have been him vlogging, sort of like explaining, what kind of food tigers eat, or what is the sound that he makes all the time. That sort of chuffing sound that tigers make.
Yeah.
Like he does a version of that himself, and it's like they actually respond to that even from very far away. So it's kind of informative on domesticated, quote unquote domesticated cats that can just murder you by accident.
Cats in big quotes, because
Yeah, big disclaimer, watch that guy, do not become
do
that
not
guy.
become that guy. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes, he himself says like he just knew he wanted tigers, but it's not like something he's endorsing. It's just that's something that he wants.
and is sharing.
Also, the guy is rich as fuck, so
Well,
Of course
yeah.
he is. He has
He-
2 tigers.
yes, and like 3 sports cars. So
Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Do not try to keep exotic pets if you,
You don't have
have
money,
the
yeah.
budget for it.
Don't
They're
do
really
it.
fucking expensive.
Are the
Yes.
patients?
Or the
Yes, all
patient.
that.
yes,
Yeah.
and he was saying like
They will eat you.
that he had to spend so much time with the tiger when they were cubs because his first one was I think he had like broken bones all over the place, so he had to nurse him to health. But they're kind of needy,
Huh.
so you actually you need to be passionate about tigers to own one.
It's like
Also
they're
have a lot of
social
money.
animals.
The thing is, he doesn't interact with them anymore, like directly. At least doesn't show he's doing this because he realizes that they could just like accidentally murder him. So he doesn't do that. But they are in like a large enclosure. He interacts with them. He sort of chuffs at them all the time, and they chuff back. Yeah, it's like their version of talking, right? Except you have no idea what the fuck they're saying. But yeah, I recommend Michael Jameson's YouTube channel. It's about tigers. That's what I recommend. Also, Steamboat Dig 2.
Again.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, it's a really good game. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Huh.
We did it.
We did
We
it.
did it.
Yes.
It only took us several wait, hours. No, minutes, seconds.
Time units.
Time you.
Time
Yeah,
minutes.
tries per second.
Timey-wimey thing bullshit.
Oh god, stop
Yes.
with the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
it was an
that
impromptu
was-
episode, impromptu topic in
Yes.
here, but
Well,
this is us.
I had
Say,
to take it.
say goodbye, people.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Beware those
internet.
trans-dimensional cocks.
Hopefully
Yes.
next time it'll have more quality.
Maybe.
Hardly. Not with Hardly. Anyway.
The fourth wall doesn't exist anymore.
Man, that steam-powered dildo is something else. Holy shit, I can't stop looking at it. I mean, holy shit.
Are
Goodbye.
you mesmerized by the dildo?
Good-
I'm
goodbye.
getting hypnotized by the dildo. That sounded so fucking wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I just realized I just said that.
Well,
Thing.
It's a good thing we have a
Spellbound, can you
close
like
channel.
edit? Can you like edit that out?
Nope.
'Cause, like,
Nope.
Spellbound, please.
This is the outro now. The outro is Powerhead being mesmerized by the dildo. This has been the Ludumcast. We wish you a good day, night thing.
Goodbye.
Have a real good time.
Bye.
Zdzisław Beksiński